Alright, everybody, let us do saving and loading in our program. We are going to have these buttons working at the end of this. So when you click load, oh my gosh, it's going to have your processing sketch communicate with your operating system, and it'll give you a file selection window. And then you can select a picture and it will load it. I'll pick this Thanos picture here. Yes! And then you could edit it to give Thanos, say, a mustache and a top hat. Don't have enough room for a top hat. It's more of like a Heisenberg hat. And yeah, maybe a cape. Here we go. A red cape. And there we go, a whole new look for our favorite blue supervillain, or purple actually? Purple. Okay, anyways. Also we can save things, so if I click and save this masterpiece, yoink, I believe we can save, I'll choose a file like Thanos2.png and save it, and sure enough, we'll get Thanos picture saved as a file. Oh, look at that. My little lol face is still there, but that's okay. We'll do that. We'll figure that out at some point. So how do I do it? So here I am in my project. This is in my mouse released function. So take a look at this. This is, oh, that's not it. That's it here. We'll do the load button first, but as you can see, the save button is actually pretty similar. So this is my code for checking to see if I'm in the rectangular region that is my load button. And it just happens that it's between sort of these numbers and these numbers. So you guys can use whatever numbers will work for your project. And then this is the select input function. And you can see that for save, it'll be the select output function. So what does this do? So select input creates let me start again. What it does is it asks Windows or OS X, if you're using a Mac, to open up a file selection window. So it actually communicates to your operating system. It gives you one of those file selection windows, and it's going to write this stuff on the top of it. And I intentionally chose something rather weird so that you could see what would happen. So if I run this, you can see that where that shows up. I'll click. This is load. So if I click load, do you see where that is? Right up here. Pick the file, bro, heart. Like whatever you type in here, and notice the double quotes. Whatever you type between the double quotes, and the double quotes are necessary, then that will show up on your file selection window. And then this is all coordinated by Windows. It's fantastic. And then when you go and click on a picture to load, what will happen is that in order to make this happen, Windows will pick that file, and then this is the name of the function that will deal with that file. So I wrote open image. The fact that it's called open image is not important. You don't have to call it open image, but whatever you put here, you're going to make a function with that name that you're going to write later on. And that's going to deal with the file that was selected. Same thing with the saving. Select output also has processing contact your operating system and opens up a file selection window. And notice save as is written up there. That's what's written here. So this is the message that it puts on that window. And then you're going to select a file there or make a new file. You might type in the name of a new file. Don't forget to put in like .png or .jpg at the end, or whatever you want. And then once that is selected, that file, then this is the name of the function that will deal with it. Again, it doesn't have to be called save image, but you do have to be consistent. Whatever the name of this function that you write in here is, you'll have to write a function with that name that will deal with it. Yeah? So that's the load button and the save button. Select input will let your operating system help you find a file, and then this is the function that will then go deal with it. Select output is about letting your operating system pick a file for writing to, and then this function will go deal with it. So let's look at load first. So we got to go find the open image function. You're going to also write this function. Again, it can be a different name than this, but make sure it matches with your open image. I'll go down here. Here it is. Oh yeah. I'm gonna get rid of a couple things here. Bloop, bloop. So here's the story. The open image function. This is what you will do here. Notice this name matches with the name that was in your select input function. So this has to match with this. And so now processing knows this is the function that's going to deal with that file. There's some stuff in these parentheses, which is a long story, which we won't get into too much detail, but basically this is where that file gets sent to for processing to deal with. So whatever file you selected in that window, F is its name. And guess what? F could not be any file. Check it out. If you were to click on save or load and press cancel, then you wouldn't have selected any file whatsoever. So we have to account for both the fact that there was a file chosen or not. And that's what this is about, this if F, and this means not equals null. This just makes sure that if the person didn't select the file, they press cancel instead, this will handle the pressing cancel. If they did select the file, then we can go ahead and go forward, because that would mean that the file is good to go. And it'll be called F. It'll be some file name in there. So then what we do is we load the picture using load image. This is exactly the same function we used to load our picture of the taco or whatever picture we used in previous examples. And we make a p-image variable that we're gonna, I just called pic. And then here is, this is how you get the file name of the person selected. A path is like the name of where something is saved in your operating system. And again, this all comes from your operating system. This file F is the file the person selected in that window. So you can go ahead and load that image, and then you can draw the picture on the screen. And this is exactly the way you draw anything that we've done in processing so far. We're just loading that picture, and we're using the image function to draw it. I'm drawing it at 0, 0, but note that you might not want to draw it at 0, 0. You might want to draw it somewhere else. So for example, if I draw it at 0, 0, technically I'm starting at behind the toolbar. And if there was something interesting in the picture there, it would get covered up. So you might need to change these numbers a little bit to move it over so that you can see it. Now it turns out that this alone should work, but there's some kind of bug in processing 3. And I forgot about this actually before I went to do this. So I'm going to show you the solution to fix the bug. If you do this, it only works like every 10th time. This is basically the important thing. So the answer is we're going to do something we've never done before. It's called a while loop. And I have the word kludge here, because kludge is a word that represents a weird fix that just makes it work. And it's kind of a stupid thing to do, but it turns out that this loop will repeat some code. And in particular, repeat it 10 times. I don't know if 10 is the right number. We might have to change that number. But what we're going to do is load it and draw it 10 times. Is basically the way we're going to make this work. Because the way it should work, that we just talked about, for whatever reason, doesn't always work the first time. I've never figured out why that is. So we have this thing called a kludge, a temporary fix that will make it work. Alright, so there it is. At worst, you could type it down and life would be okay. And we'll be doing while loops later on. It was pretty fun stuff to do. Anyways, take a look at that. Ask some questions about it if you like, or just take it down, and that's okay for this particular project. Okay, so that's the open image. There's a little bit more to do though for saving. So for save, remember we have select output, and that's the message you say. But now we have to make a save image function that will deal with the saving stuff. So just like I have an open image function, I also have a save image function. So the story is that, again, we have to account for pressing cancel in case someone didn't select a file. If they did select a file, it's going to be contained in this file variable F. And if they did not select a file, that will be null. So before we go and work with the file, we'll just make sure that F was not null. If it was null, we can't really save because they pressed cancel. So instead, what we'll do is we will do nothing, basically. If it is a file was selected, then that won't be null. It'll be a file instead. So we go ahead and do these things. And these two lines of code are what save a picture to a file. So a p-image can be scraped off of your screen using the get function. So the get function basically draws a rectangle around an area, and then it will produce a p-image from that. So I can say get, and this will be the top left corner of the region that I'm pulling off of my screen. I chose these numbers because that's sort of where my toolbar is, and the stroke, the ones are for taking the stroke into account. So I have to not start at 0, 0. You could start at 0, 0. It's fine. You'll just get the toolbar when you save it. And then I go all the way to the width of the screen minus 71, because if I added width, this is like the width of the rectangle that is containing the picture I'm trying to save. So I just go to the edge of the screen minus 71 to account for the fact that I started at 71. Same thing with height. And again, if you just put in width and height, it'd be fine. You just get some like dead pixels at the end. So these numbers will be affected by your program depending on where you put your toolbar. If it's at the top, like this number will probably be bigger, and so on. So once canvas, I call the variable canvas. It's just the name I'm giving to the picture that I got off my screen with the get function. Once you have this as a p-image, it turns out that p-images, one of the things they can do is save themselves to a file. So you can say canvas.save, and this is the name of the file the person selected in that window. And it works. So that's the function for making the save image work, and this was the function for making the open image work. And this kludge here is sort of beyond what we've done so far. So if you want to just get that down so you can open and save pictures, that's totally fine by me. It's its own kind of prelude, if you will, to some of the things we'll be doing in the course later on. And it's yeah, that's what I had to say. I hope this goes well. I'll just stop the video and I'll let you guys watch it. If it goes great, great. If it doesn't, ask lots of questions. We'll figure it out together. Bye, everybody.